Hi again, welcome to the FitRefresh channel. My name is Sarah Martinez and I'm a health coach whose purpose is to help clients at any fitness level achieve their happy, healthy goals. I've created these weekly live events that I do on Facebook and Instagram, and then I put them up here on YouTube. And today's event is going to be talking about sugar, the real, the fake, and the ugly. Let's go. I'm so excited for today's event, and I'm excited to share this topic with you because it is like one of these topics that always tends to keep people guessing what's right, what's wrong, what do I do? So obviously I'm going to cover a little bit of it today, but if you have questions, if anything along this journey talking about sugar makes you realize like, oh, I don't know the answer to that, please comment below so that I can answer them, and also it helps me understand what people want to see from here. I guess I already went into it. My name is Sarah Martinez, and I'm here to make sure that you guys get free coaching when you can. Obviously, I'd love for you to join me on Facebook and Instagram. That's where I do a live every Thursday at 8 p.m. But check in on my site because sometimes I will switch it up, but mostly it's pretty consistent. And yeah, so join me on those lives. The links are below to my social media accounts, so definitely follow me. And then, if anything, just make sure you. I always do this wrong. Oh my God, so many times. There we go. Subscribe to my channel, like my channel, and yeah, ask questions. The more that you can engage, the better understanding you're going to have of your health and fitness goals, and voila, probably better results and more long-term results. So that's always the key. So subscribe, like it, and then feel free to comment as much as you want below, and I will make sure to get back to you right away. So let's get right into the material. Today's topic is added sugar. So we're not going to necessarily really hit anything about natural sugars, like one you'd find in an apple or whatever. But today it's going to mostly be about the added sugar that you'd find in food and how effective it is for you. So the first thing I want to go over is, how does your body break down sugar? And I'm going to keep this very simple. Of course, there's like more scientific, each level and the enzymes and how it gets absorbed. But this is simply how it goes. Sugar goes into your mouth. Right away, immediately when it hits your tongue, your body starts to process the sugar. So the taste of sweetness ignites your saliva to start breaking it down so that you can immediately use it as glucose. Your body loves carbohydrates because it is great immediate energy, so it wants to utilize it right away. So it goes in your mouth, your body starts to process it, finally it reaches down to your stomach then processes it there as well, turns it into glucose, and then releases it into your bloodstream so that your body can use it, store it where it needs to get stored. And then that's also where the problem happens. If it's too much and we have too much sugar, your body then stores it, which is kind of the problem that we're getting into and why we're talking about it today, right? So that's a really important process because that is a full body process, and that is why with higher sugar intake, we tend to store more fat. It comes with a lot of extra calories, empty calories. So what I want to do is I want to break down real sugar, fake sugar, and then give you some more overhanging things to think about as we're talking more about the subject. And then again, feel free to comment as you go, so that way, if it's fresh on your brain, then put it down in the comments, or if you like something you hear or you hate something you hear, I guess, go ahead and leave a little emoji or something just so I know how you guys are feeling about it. Again, all this information helps me make sure that you have that you're getting the information that you want and need. Also, I'm going to be giving a free thing at the end of this, so if you stay tuned through the whole thing, I'll let you know where to go to get your free information, which will help you in this process as well. All right. That being said, I say we get right into it. Let's talk about real sugar. We see a lot of, packaging that talks about, real or organic cane sugar or whatever it is. The truth is, most real sugars are table sugar is made from beets, corn, or sugar cane. Primarily. Obviously, other forms, you see your coconut sugars, and people do get specific, especially when they become organic, right? They get more specific, but When it comes to table sugar, most of the time it's being produced by either beet, corn, or sugar cane. So that's important because it really gives you an idea of how sugar, you see this white sugar in a bowl, and thinking that it's processed from a beet is kind of an odd thing. So, it makes you really understand how much refining has to go through the process before you get that sugar on your table. So the big key thing to, really understand is that almost all the sugars, no matter where they're from, if you're buying them in a store and they're in a package, they've been refined for the most part, right? So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after, but in that process, it really does change the structure and makes that sugar a different type of glucose or monosaccharide that your body is processing. So if you want to talk about the most natural forms of added sugar that you might add to something, we would talk mostly about honey and maple syrup. And even in those cases, you're still going to find products that are fine processing or refined, add stuff to it or process it oddly. So if you want something in its most natural form, reach your hand into a bee honeycomb, maybe. That's the best way to do it. But no, getting something that's unrefined, and that's going to be your most natural form in the form of honey or maple syrup. Other than that, most of the other sugars are refined. And again, we'll talk about that later. But the most important thing, and that all real sugars, when you really are coming to terms with them or really using them, the idea is that everything needs to be consumed in moderation. So something might say it's made from real cane sugar or organic coconut sugar. In the end, the caloric intake of it, the actual thing that you're bringing into your body, it's not making it more healthy, except for you may not be getting some additives that maybe other sugars might put in, but you're not really getting something that's better for you if you're trying to lose weight. It's still calorically going to give you higher calories. It's added sugar to something that maybe already has enough sugar in already. So that's really important when you hear real sugar or natural sugar or organic sugar. Just know that those are really fancy ways to make you feel like what you're getting is better than mama's sugar that's sitting on the table in your kitchen. So the next thing I kind of want to touch on is the idea of fake sugars. So fake sugar, which I say fake, but we'll say artificial sweeteners might be another name for it as well. But fake sugars are an interesting subject because they're a great substitution if you're trying to lower your calories. You might take the idea of like, well, I'll have a Splenda in my iced tea instead of a scoop of actual, real sugar. So that is a great way to lower caloric intake. However, there's a lot of plus and minuses to using artificial sweeteners. First thing I want to go over though, before we even jump into that, when you have artificial sweeteners, it's not like your body just goes, oh, what is that? Oh, it's nothing. Let's not recognize it. Your body is still going to try to go through the same process. The moment that sweetness touches your tongue, your body's going to activate, start trying to break down that sweetener that got put in there and utilize it. But what it's going to find is it doesn't need the things that are in it, and it doesn't know what to do with it. And in that case, your body is going to kind of go in a little bit of a, I don't want to say shock because that makes it sound really, really dramatic, but it doesn't know it's breaking it down in a different way, but it's still going through the same processes. And in that process, your body still is going to hold on to fat. Mostly even now because it's kind of thinking of it kind of like a foreign invader, essentially. So it's going to, in any of those moments, your body is going to hold on to fat maybe a bit more than it would before. The other thing that having, fake sugar intake or artificial sweeteners, I don't want to say fake and make people mad. I feel like it's going to make people mad. But if you do artificial sweeteners, you get used to a much more heightened sweetness. And if you are trying to cut back on getting things that are really sweet, if you're trying to, make better choices by having an artificial sweetener, which will cause you to have less calories, but it might make you crave the things that you're trying to avoid. So that's another thing, and that's more about, you recognizing that for yourself. But that's the other down point of getting or having artificial sweeteners as a substitute. And that's one of the negative, I put negative benefits. I don't know about that. Negative benefits. Probably wasn't the right way to word that, but what's done is done. So, that's a huge part. So tasting overly sweet will make other things not taste as glorious as they could, right? So you want to make sure that you are trying to even out your palate so that things that may not usually seem sweet to you seem sweet, and it satisfies that a lot better. One other thing I want to kind of touch on too is there's a lot of, talk out there about artificial sweeteners causing cancer, which is still on the table. I mean, anything that's foreign to your body's going to try to attack it. So, but that being said, I did a lot of research prior to doing this video, and I have not seen any articles or writings anywhere that identifies it as an absolute, this person got cancer from this. However, people get cancer all the time and not necessarily have something specific to link it to. So it's not off the table, but there's definitely not any specific research that identifies it and says for sure that artificial sweeteners were the cause, a artificial sweetener. I'm sure if that were the case, it would probably immediately be taken off the market. But, FDA, they run a lot, so definitely it's probably better to just find yourself, stepping away from it. My biggest recommendation is if you find yourself only really having like one diet soda a day, diet soda is not a great example, but if you have any kind of sweetener, you're almost better off if you're not having too much of it to just have the regular sugar. At least your body knows how to break it down. But if you overconsume it, that is where you're gonna get into a problem. So now you know a little bit about real sugar, fake sugar. Here's a couple quick tidbits and tips that are gonna help you really start to identify. First of all, the big thing, and I kind of did this on a social media ad recently, how much added sugar are we encouraged to eat for nutritional value? I don't know, think about it for a second. It's actually 0. Technically, your body doesn't need sugar. So we talk about essential nutrients for your body and what your body needs to survive and function properly. And technically, added sugars are not part of the equation. So now, because we as a society overconsume them, the American Heart Association and other organizations have decided to give out numbers that they think is the most people should have per day, and that's a little different way to approach it, right? So it's not that you need it at all, but don't exceed this amount. So for men, they say that men should have about 38 grams or have not exceed 38 grams of added sugar per day, which is about the amount you would find in a muffin. So if you had one muffin in a day, that would probably bring a man up to his added sugar limit. So that's for men. For women, it's 25 grams. So we wouldn't want to exceed any added sugar of 25 grams, which I did a little research, and that's the exact amount of added sugar in a Snickers bar. So one Snickers bar and you've hit your max for the day, okay? And then the last one that kind of covers is kids. And kids, they say anywhere between 12 to 25 grams of added sugar as like their max. So that's really kind of be based on caloric needs and how young they are. Obviously a 1-year-old is probably not going to be intaking 25 grams of added sugar. But it kind of gives you a good basis to think about, well, how much sugar am I giving and how much sugar am I taking in on a daily basis? How much added sugar, right? The other thing I want to talk about is food labels. So food labels never used to make people put added sugars as part of their counting. So what they would just say is you'd look on the back of a can. I thought I still have my can here. I do. Look at that. So I have just a can nearby. So like this particular can just says sugars 6 grams. Now I'm more than certain that there are no more added sugars in this. This is an Annie's organic chili. I'm assuming that the sugars are, but this might be an old can, so that are just 6 grams of sugar, and that's probably from the residual sugar in the can. So what they're saying on labels now is they might actually put, regular sugar 5 grams, added sugar 18 grams or whatever. So now I've noticed it on labels even today at the grocery store. They are putting it on labels. So it's a good thing to check. You can see how much is natural sugars from the items that are actually in the can and how much they've actually added on to create the extra sugar content. So let's talk about refining. So how does sugar become sugar? So let's use like a beet as an example. So supposing that we're going to make some sugar from beets. So a beet is first going to be chopped up and soaked in water, and in that process it is going to get soft, get mashed up, and there's going to be natural juices that kind of come from that process, from that mulching process. From there, it's going to get cleaned so that all the impurities within the mixture are taken out. Then from there, they will get crystallized. So in that cleaning process, once everything's dried, they'll get the crystallized end result of all that process, and those crystallized end result items become sugar. Now, you might say, well, I don't see them adding in anything or, in that process, besides, in the washing process or whatever. But here's the reality. If you eat a beet by itself, you're going to get sugars from that beet, because obviously that beet has sugar in it, and that's why we turned it into table sugar. So by eating that beet, though, you get the sweetness of the beet, plus you get all the nutrients and the added, nutrients and other stuff in the beet that's going to help, make your body healthy and add to the other, nutrients and stuff that your body needs to survive. It's also going to be more filling, so it's not going to get broken down so easily in that form. Once it's been refined and broken down and put down into this final crystallized little thing, now it has no nutrients in it. It is completely an empty sugar, carb, calorie, so it loses the other attributes that make it a more favorable option. So that's a really important thing, and that's true even with corn. And sugarcane more directly is just sugar, obviously, in its like more natural form. But same process. You break it down, you take out any other sort of nutrients that could be involved in it, and now it's just a very simple sugar that your body breaks down very easily, and then we can overconsume it, essentially. It's also really important to know that almost 74% of packaged foods have added sugar. Okay, so this is important because sugar can be named many, many things. There's 61 different names for sugar. So, when you're looking on packaging and you see dextrose, you see lactose, all these things are other ways to say that there's added sugar to this packaging or to this item that you're looking at. So my free gift to you guys, because you waited this long to listen to it, you listen to me ramble here. My free gift to you is I've created actually a PDF that has all the names, the 61 names for sugars. I also made one for fake sugars and also sugar alcohols, which is maybe a whole nother event. Because sugar alcohols are the types of sugar that does not spike your insulin levels. That's a topic for another day. So if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know, because I'm happy to go into that more in depth. So those, having that list with you, you could just like print it out, put it in your bag. That way, whenever you go to the store, if you're confused about one thing, if it has sugar in it or not, you could take a look at your list. So to get that, the link is going to be down here in the bio, and you can just pop over there, give me some information so I can send it your direction, and that way you'll have your little shortcut there as well. So that way you won't have to guess about what is named sugar. Now, I do also on social media the day before, I kind of encourage people to ask me questions early so that I can answer a few here. So I've gotten a few questions back, and I wanted to post them here in this video. Also to encourage you to ask questions so you know that I will answer them as well. But let's go for question number one. Question number one was, what are some foods to look out for? So there's a little bit more to this, but it wouldn't fit on the screen. But what are some foods to look out for that have sugar that we may not know? That's kind of was the idea of the question. So one big one that I find amazing is dried fruit. Next time you're at the store, take a look at a package of dried fruit. You would think, oh, it's fruit. It's fine. It's fresh. It's natural. But a lot of dried fruit has added sugar. Cranberries, all of them. So take a look at it. You'll see there's the actual sugar from the item, and then there's added sugar. So if you're feeding them to your kid, that's a really good thing to think about, because, that's important. The other thing that's a little surprising too is yogurt. It's very hard to find yogurts that don't have added sugar, and trust me, I've tried. So when you're at the store next time, take a look. I mean, there's a huge wall of yogurt, and none of them have items without added sugar into them. Now, if you're just getting plain Greek yogurt, you're probably okay. But take a look at the back, because even then, they might add it. So that's a really important one to take a look at. And my favorite is seasonings. So you'd be surprised how many of the seasonings that don't sound like they should have sugar in it do. One of my favorite is go pick up a thing at, go to your local grocery store, pick up a bottle of lemon pepper seasoning. Lemon pepper, you want like sour, spicy, like it doesn't sound like there should be sugar, but a lot of them add sugar. So your spice rack might be riddled with sugar. That sounds really dramatic, but it's true. Another really big point is any labels that say low fat or even sugar-free. Sugar-free is still, there's in FDA guidelines, is still, they could still have 0.5 grams of sugar or less. So there still might be a little bit of added sugar in there. So make sure you understand your labels because that's a huge part of whether you're going to be really taking in the right amount of calories that you need. All right, let's do question number 2. Question number 2. Oh, look at that, yeah. So at what age can kids have added sugar? This is a great question for your pediatrician first. But when it comes to sugar, I mean, we kind of talked about it, 12 to 25 grams for, kids, and that's depending on caloric needs, obviously. I can tell you what my personal opinion is. My personal opinion is that why would kids need any sugar, really, until they're like old enough to really understand what it is anyway? Because it's not a necessity, it's not a nutrient that your body needs to develop, then if they don't even know what it is, like, why even give it to them? That's kind of that's what we kind of do in our house. But we're not saints by any means, trust me. But it has, I think, helped. We accidentally actually gave our son honey recently. He's almost 2, so it's fine. But and he was bouncing off the walls. He was all over the place. And I was like, okay, well, that's what that would look like. So obviously, when they get old enough to understand what a cupcake is, good luck. But until then, why do they need any added sugar anyway? The sugar that's in your bananas and the fruit they're getting or whatever is probably enough. And the milk, if you're feeding them regular milk, they're getting sugar intake from that already. So that kind of would fulfill their sugar intake for the day. All right. That's an important one. And then I have one more question that I wanted to put up. Well, we kind of already addressed this. So why does sugar cause me to gain weight? Honestly, so there's obviously your system is going to store fat and all that, but the truth is it always comes down to calories. So when you take in too many calories, your body is going to start to store fat, hold on to it as long as you're maintaining that kind of caloric intake. And let's just face it, sugar is just high in calories for a small amount. And with that, your body's going to store fat, Essentially, if you're eating the amount of calories that your body's burning, your body doesn't need to store extra, right? So it's going to use the sugar it takes in, use it for what it needs to function, and then it's going to burn the rest. So always remember that when it comes to it, it's always going to be about cutting the calories down, and that's where this becomes tricky business, right? Well, cool. So, that's the main questions. Again, feel free to ask questions because it's all about, what you can do and how I can help you, right? So obviously there's a lot of information out there, and how do we, sift through it and figure out what is right, what is wrong. And the truth is everybody's just different. So you need to discover more about yourself, and you need to start recognizing and being more knowledge. So creating more awareness and knowledge in your life is going to make it a better life. And you're going to find yourself meeting your goals a lot easier. So again, just a reminder. So I have a cheat sheet for you for sugars, something you can just kind of put in your wallet. And next time you're at the store, if you're like, that's a weird word, does that mean sugar? You could pull it out and take a look at it. I put the link right here, as you can see on my on the little card to the side of me. But I'm also putting a link to in the description. Just go there, type your information in, and I'll send it to you. So that way you have it with you whenever you want, and get your cheat sheet. Right? I know it's very exciting. It's like the big present of the day. All right, guys. Well, that's it for sugar on this particular event. Again, subscribe, like, ask questions, go to my website. I'm here for you, so I'm here to make sure that you're getting all the information you need. And then if you need further help, of course, I'm here for that too. But I definitely want you to succeed. I do. I really mean it. It truly was a pleasure. Thank you for sticking in all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time.